What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/AmITheButtHole. And if you do love a Reddit story, please consider hitting that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And don't forget, on our Discord, we're currently running a Halloween art-based competition. Prizes involved. Come over there, link in the description, and let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Grumpy Bunny, titled, "Am I the Arsehole for using my theatre voice to scare my friend's annoying neighbour?" Now you know, I love a neighbour story. It goes on to say, "I've performed in amateur theatre for over 20 plus years, and can now project my voice quite a distance thanks to many of the roles I've had. This is important later. 2 weeks ago, I was staying at my friend's house overnight because I was helping with renovations and it was easier to just stay the night and finish the reno the next day than make 2 return trips. Plus, his wife is a great cook. They have told me many stories about their annoying neighbour across the road who complains when their kids are playing outside, or that they don't like seeing so many cars parked on the street when my friends are hosting a dinner party. What the fuck? So Sunday morning, 7:15, there's rapping at the door and I open it as I was up making coffee. It is the old witch neighbour telling me that I have to move my work truck now, parked in front of my friend's house, because she has guests coming for lunch at 11:30. Never being at my best this early on a Sunday, I go full King Lear on her, raising myself up and giving her a death stare and saying, 'Begone, you feculent hag, and take your miserable and selfish behaviour with you.' She screamed and ran away. Pretty good burst of speed for a 66-year-old, lol. I woke up everyone in the house. The neighbour's dog on both sides went crazy barking, and a few people came out of their house to see what the hell was going on. I just waved and said sorry. My friend thought it was hilarious, but his wife thinks I'm an arsehole for waking up their kids and disturbing the neighbourhood so early on a Sunday morning. So, am I the arsehole for scaring the old bat and waking up the neighbourhood?" They haven't heard from her since then. Now, to me in this one, it's one of the ones that we cover, and it's like, yes, you are the arsehole, but you're sort of justified in it. You're justified in it to me when you're dealing with a nightmare neighbour like that, and I think it's the best way to deal with them head on. And I say justified arsehole because it was justified, but there was always a better way to deal with a nightmare neighbour like that. You could talk to them, there is other ways of dealing with it, and they may not have listened in the past, so this way, dealt with it head on. So I personally think it's pretty awesome. But I'm surely a duck says, "Look, are you the arsehole? Certainly. Was it hilarious? Absolutely. Is it keeping her away? Looks like. I think the pros outweigh the cons on this one. Absolutely. And that's where I was going as well. There's a lot of positives to take away from it, from acting this way." Pat James says, "Not the arsehole. It was a Sunday morning. The neighbours and the kids could go back to sleep. It was rude of the neighbour to come at their door at 7:15 in the morning for an 11 a.m. lunch. I think what you did was great, and you probably did your friends a favour, being that they have not heard from her in 2 weeks. You might of course apologise to the wife in order to keep that great cooking coming your way." Nanny Bismo says, "Not the arsehole. Sounds like the feculent hag Bill went." Jokey says, "Have we okayed being a justified arsehole yet? Because this is low-key hilarious." And Fluffy Westy says, "I almost voted you're the arsehole because you didn't announce exit pursued by a bear as she was scampering off. Excellent use of your theatrical skills. Not the arsehole." And there is like a MIDI/edit update on this one which says, "I apologise to my friend's wife by making breakfast for the kids so she didn't have to get out of bed, and sent her a large bouquet of flowers the next day. She was just annoyed at being woken up early. Apologised to the neighbours on either side before I left for the day. They weren't too upset when I told them why I was loud, just asked me not to do it again. The street was only half full of cars when our visitors finally arrived. Plenty of places to park." Now, what do you guys make of this one? Do you think a justified arsehole is warranted on this one, or is it just a you're the arsehole? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or maybe not the arsehole, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Metalori, titled, "Am I the arsehole for escorting my niece home after she messed with my daughter's doll? I, 34 female, have a daughter 11 and a niece 7 that lives about 5 houses down from us. My daughter has a decently sized collection of dolls, ranging from American Girl to Baby Alive. She loves all of her dolls dearly and takes very good care of them, and understands how precious her more expensive dolls are. Her favourite doll is the American Girl doll with very curly hair that needs to be taken care of gently. So whenever her cousin comes over, she puts her on a high shelf in her room and is very clear in saying that she cannot and will not play with her dolls on the high shelf. She paid for this doll entirely by herself, so it has lots of sentimental value as well. I don't find her behaviour bad, and I'm happy she's setting a boundary. As long as my daughter's rule is followed, I don't interfere. Yesterday her cousin came over to play, as she usually does on the weekends. Everything was going as usual until I heard my daughter screaming bloody murder. I went upstairs to find the doll clutched in her hands with straight hair, and a brush in my niece's hand. Turns out, my daughter left to go use the bathroom, and my niece climbed her nightstand to get her favourite doll and wanted to do her hair. I comforted my daughter, first telling her that this was a fixable thing, and that I put her doll's hair in rollers and she'd be fine. I sent her off to her dad so that he could take over while I took over with my niece. I tried explaining to her why touching my daughter's doll without her permission, after she'd been told multiple times not to, was rude. My niece insisted my daughter was a bully for not letting her play with it and wouldn't budge. So I called my sister to make sure an adult was home, packed my niece's things and walked her home. Before we left, I explained to her that she couldn't touch things my daughter did not want her to touch, despite her not budging, and that she could come play again if she apologised. At the door, I explained to my other sister, who was at their home at the time, what happened. I told her I'd call my sister later, and that was it for the time being. Today, my sister called me after I left her a voicemail and a text thread explaining everything. She told me her daughter cried saying her aunt and cousin were both bullying her, and proceeded to call my daughter's doll a stupid toy, and that my daughter should have just let her play with it in the first place. I continued to try and tell her my side, but she also wouldn't listen. I'm not really sure what to do. I've gotten lots of mixed opinions about the whole situation from friends and family. I kinda just want a verdict. My daughter renamed her doll, so I forgot what her original name was, but she's a Ruthie. I still don't know her last name or what collection she's from, but if you want to see her curls, there they are. Edit, so we've taken her hair out of the curlers, entirely ruined. There is quite literally no coming back unless I find a new method or a miracle happens. I'll probably just have to get her an entirely new wig. Let us all wish farewell to Angela's curls. To me in this one, it's absolutely not the arsehole. Your daughter set her own boundaries and put a doll on the top shelf. That was her boundary. She didn't want anyone playing with it because it was so special to her. This girl played with it, went to her mother and was claiming that she was being bullied by you guys, and her mum backed her up straight away and said stuff like, you should just let her play with a stupid doll in the first place. It's not a stupid doll. It's very important to this girl. So absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. But rejected Sith Lord says, not the arsehole, and your sis is raising one entitled kid. Maybe send her the bill for the doll, and she'll realise it's not just a stupid toy. Though more likely she'll call you a bully. And Rap2Right says, not the arsehole, you did brilliantly. When I was a little younger than your daughter, I had a Barbie collection and a custom dollhouse that my mum and stepdad built for me. Seriously amazing, to scale for Barbies, lights, working sinks, a walk-in closet. This was my pride and joy. One day, I was with my grandma and one of my mum's friends came to the house with her daughter. This child went to my room and freaking destroyed it. Nail polish and cologne poured onto the dollhouse, the carpet pulled up, some of the wiring pulled out. I was devastated. My mum was totally on my side and refused to hear a single word from her friend about how her daughter didn't mean to her anything and it's just a toy. The dollhouse got fixed and my stepdad installed a lock on my door, and I never had to let anyone but my folks be in my room if I didn't want them there. I am 52 now, and there's still a little outrage at the girl who trashed my things, but what I remember mostly was that my mum had my back, that I was allowed to want my things to be safe and allowed to be upset about the whole thing. Trust me when I say that your daughter will never quite forget that you had her back and you put a huge deposit in the trust bank every kid keeps in the bank of their mind. Your niece is old enough to understand what she can and can't play with, and old enough to have some consequences for taking something out that she had been told wasn't available for playing with, just looking at. And remembering family members that do back you up with these sort of things. I remember I had a remote control hovercraft when I was younger. It was pretty pants actually. It didn't go very fast, it just went around circles because obviously it's controlled by fans. But I remember this kid around the area and he kept jumping over it, and I was telling him to stop, and one time he jumped, stood on one of the fans and broke the propellers inside, so totally ruined the whole thing. You could only go around in circles after that. And I remember talking to my now sister-in-law, and she was furious. She went straight round that person's house and was like dealing with it there and then, and that's something that I never forget. You know, the hovercraft doesn't mean that much, but knowing my family had my back like that was absolutely amazing. So I totally agree with that comment there. And we'll have one more from Psychological Pack, who says, not the arsehole. No problem here. You enforce your daughter's autonomy and boundaries in regard to her things. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do in that situation? Is there a way to fix the doll? Do you have any tips? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from the Iceman, titled, Am I the Arsehole for being indifferent about whether my wife is pulling her weight? My wife doesn't have a job and I don't care. She quit to take care of our daughter and never went back. I'm perfectly okay with this. Should we end the story there? I literally never even think about the fact that she doesn't have a job. So my brother's girlfriend kicked him out, and so my wife and I said he could stay with us. Him and my wife apparently have been butting heads while I'm at work, according to my daughter. Neither had said anything, but my daughter, 11 years old, told me. I didn't say anything, but I didn't pretend I was surprised when my wife expressed her displeasure with him staying here. So I naturally told him he had till the end of the month to find somewhere else, and I'd pay for a hotel if he couldn't find anywhere, but he couldn't stay here anymore. He blamed my wife. He's technically right, lol, and said she's abusing me, just because my wife has complete control over our finances. And he saw that she gives me money, $100 every other Monday for gas. I don't need much and am admittedly not the sharpest tool in the shed, so I let her handle all that. She currently has to give me the cash since my card is broke and I haven't got the chance to get a new one. I'm fine with it. He mentioned that I do most of the cleaning. Untrue, I just wash dishes a few times a week and take out the trash every other day though, and that she's a leech. He decided he'd leave tonight instead of waiting. I called a buddy of mine and asked him if he could stay there for now. On the way there, he started telling me about how I had no respect for myself. But am I the arsehole for genuinely not caring that my wife doesn't have a job and sometimes stays in bed all day because she can? The way I see it, no one is making me work, so why should I expect her to and think it's unfair? If I wanted to quit, I would. If she wants to lay around, then who am I to judge? All is good as far as I'm concerned, and it's not like she does nothing. I've never cooked at all since we've been together. She always does. Pulling her weight was the phrase he used. That's why it's in the quotation marks in the title. She takes care of most things at home, but if she didn't, I wouldn't care. She only has to give me money since my cards are broken and I can't withdraw anything. I have to go to the bank and fix it, but I'm not in a hurry and I'm not technically asking her for money. She just gives it to me. Now again, this is absolutely not the arsehole to me. If this is the way you guys want to live your life, then who are we to judge, right? This is not the arsehole to me. The only thing that I would say, and you know, it's just coming from a place because I've been there before, like staying in bed all day and stuff like that. Is that all there is? Is there more to it mental health wise? And that's, I'm only saying that out of concern more than anything. As I said, who am I to judge if she wants to stay in bed all day? She might be a night owl for all that I know. But that would just be like the only thing that I can mention because it's popped into my head, so I have to say it. And I love the fact that he turns around and says she's a leech, yet he's living in her home. I mean, what the hell? Not the arsehole from me, but let's check out some comments to see what they say. With Queen Oreo, who says, not the arsehole, his opinion means nothing. He sounds awfully judgmental for a homeless dude. Verminous Bow says, not the arsehole. You and your wife are both happy with it. If she's laying around in bed all day and such, may want to check on her mental state though. And Jenna says, well, you're certainly not the arsehole, and I think you know that, so not the arsehole. But if this were relationship advice, then I would think people would tell you that this is definitely concerning that your wife lies in bed all day, on a regular basis, or does so little work that others notice and comment, or that she's home all day with a kid in school, but you do all the cleaning. Is she depressed, have a thyroid problem, have chronic fatigue, something, because that's not normal. Once Upon a Midnight says, not the arsehole, I'm curious how you're offering to pay for his hotel, but he calls your spouse a leech though. And one more from AV227 who says, well, I understand why your brother might be concerned. I understand why he would worry that you'll be taken advantage of, and it really isn't his place to tell you how to feel in your marriage. So as long as you're truly good with your family arrangement, you're not the arsehole. As long as your brother is motivated by trying to look out for you. He's also not the arsehole for being concerned, though soft the arsehole for how he expressed his concern. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What do you think is going on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next one. And our next story comes from Neat Marketing 8, titled, Am I the arsehole for blocking the new girl my ex is dating? Me, 28 female, and my ex, 30 male, are co-workers. We broke up, my choice. earlier this year due to personal differences, and have been maintaining a civil friendship because of work. I thought we were doing pretty well up until a few days ago when he seemingly randomly blocked me on Instagram. I was planning to tag him in something, pictures that were taken of a project we worked on together, and thought that was weird. So I texted him to address the issue, but he did not respond. I later ran into him the same day. Other friends and colleagues were around, and he walked up to hug me like nothing was wrong. When I asked if he'd gotten my message, he claimed he hadn't. I asked why he ended up blocking me, as I thought we were being friendly. But then he said it was because I'd blocked a new girl he's dating, E. I noticed E, 19 female, had been watching my Instagram stories prior to this, and it made me feel uncomfortable, both due to her age and due to them being involved. So I did in fact block her from my page. He kept pushing that I blocked her for no reason and that my page was public, so anyone can look at it. I tried explaining my discomfort. I even offered to block her on his behalf, but he stressed that no, I blocked her for no reason, so he had just blocked me back. He claims we're still friends, but says now I just can't see what's on his Insta anymore. Am I the arsehole for blocking her in the first place, and is it even worth it to try and maintain this friendship? No, I think it is a not the arsehole. Maybe a no one's the arsehole here, but I think definitely virgin on not the arsehole, simply because if I found out like an ex's partner was watching my social accounts in some way. I know they're all public and all this sort of thing, but they're watching my social accounts in some way. I find that pretty weird. Like, why are they watching me? What are they up to? And it's not something that I'd want on my mind, sort of anxiety-inducing stuff. So I would definitely be blocking that person as well and not want them watching my page. And the reason I said no one's the arsehole here is because is it really that bad that he's blocked you on his Insta? I know you're trying to be friends and stuff, but I just can't see the whole relationship working out to begin with after it's got to this point anyway. So maybe it is best that you two just like have a work relationship and that's it, and not the air quotes friendship that you guys have been currently doing in the past, because it's not going to work out when you're blocking each other on social media. It's only going to get worse from there, isn't it? Mixelia Maelstrom says, not the arsehole. You had your reasons. It's not up to him to decide what is and is not proper reason. If you block someone, it's for your reasons only. The end. If you want to keep courteous with him and friendly, it's your choice. No one can or should make it for you. It all depends on what your relationship is like, I suppose. Wish you all the best. Tanishu says, not the arsehole. The new girl's actions were creepy. Let the friendship go. You can't be friends with people you used to fuck. It never works. It crosses too many lines, especially when there is a new love interest involved. Super Ledge says, not the arsehole. As soon as I start dating someone, I block their exes on social media because I just don't need any drama. I would say he's not an arsehole for blocking you either if it was to make his new partner feel more comfortable. But it's strange he says it was some sort of retaliation move. Trickview says, not the arsehole. Social media should be for fun, not spying on anyone. If it isn't fun, then it isn't worth it. And one more from DeathGP who says, no one's an arsehole here. Look, your profile is public. Anyone can see it, so that includes people you don't want to see it. You blocked her, so he blocked you. Put your profile on private if you don't like his current girl seeing it. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What do you think OP should be doing in this situation? Should they try and maintain their friendship or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And a little warning before the next one, there is mentions of PPD in the next story, so please feel free to use the timestamps if you'd like to. And it's from FRFOBRFR35T, titled, Am I the Arsehole for Crying of Sadness When My Sister Announced Her Pregnancy? I, 17 female, have an older sister, Beth, 23 female. 2 years ago, Beth gave birth to a baby boy, Leo. She suffered intense postpartum depression, to the extent where her boyfriend, Leo's father, kicked her out, with the baby for some reason, and she came to live with us. I can't go into details, but her depression was severe. It made life a living hell for me, to come home from school and deal with my extremely depressed sister and newborn baby. At the time, Beth literally couldn't stand to even look at Leo, and my parents were busy with work. So I was put in the difficult position of doing the most of the care for baby Leo, even though I literally had zero experience with babies, and my depressed sister wouldn't lift a finger to help. I would describe that year as the worst of my life. I feel like my sister's postpartum depression was rubbing off on me because I felt sad every day. Beth was in therapy during that year, and she did eventually get better and gradually started wanting to be more involved with Leo. Her boyfriend eventually took her and Leo back. I wasn't happy about this, but it's her decision, and she started actually being a good mum to Leo. I was relieved honestly, and so were my parents. It was like a huge weight lifted from my shoulders, and every day I come home from school, I could come home to a happy environment instead of a sad, toxic one. So flash forward to last weekend. Beth, her boyfriend, now fiance, and baby Leo came over for dinner. My grandparents were also there, and we'd finished dinner, we were having dessert, and out of the blue, Beth and her boyfriend made an announcement that she was pregnant with a second child. I did try to put on a brave face and not show my emotions, but I was teary-eyed and my grandmother noticed. She leaned in and asked me what's the matter, and unfortunately the floodgates just opened uncontrollably. It seemed everyone was caught off guard and they all immediately knew what I was crying about. I could hear Beth's boyfriend mutter something and then storm out of the room, but I didn't catch what he said. Beth started snapping at me, and it's a bit of a blur, but I think she asked, "Why the hell are you crying?" And I said something like, "How do you know you won't get depressed again and I'll be put in the same position?" She was really angry and my parents had to defuse the situation and send them home. Now in the aftermath, I'm getting a lot of criticism from my parents. They think I overreacted and made a happy moment into a sad moment. They believe Beth is right to be pissed. They wish I could have been more supportive and happy for my sister instead of making it about me and my feelings. They also think I'm an arsehole for questioning her choice to have another child just because she had postpartum depression after the first child. I'm not an expert, so I don't know, but it's a big fear of mine that the same thing will happen again and I'll be stuck in the same position. Am I the arsehole? Now my jaw sort of dropped from the first paragraph really, where it said, she suffered from intense postpartum depression and the boyfriend kicked her and the baby out, and I was just like, what the fuck? And whilst I feel for anyone that suffers with PPD, no one's really taken into consideration what you went through, that the way it's affected you and the negatives it's had in your life right now. And I think you have every right to be concerned, that it might fall on your shoulders again. None of these adults in your life have proven that it won't. But I'm sure the comments will say it better than I can in this one. So QTBeaver26 says, "Not the arsehole. Did no one ever realise how much this impacted you? You have the right to your feelings and concerns. PPD is usually worse with number 2. Tip Top C says, "Not the arsehole. You're a kid who was forced to raise your nephew because apparently every single adult around you was failing to do their job. It is horrific that your parents let all that weight fall on you, and all of the parties involved should have anticipated what this news might mean to you." Laughing's Better says, "Not the arsehole. You were 15 years old, taking care of a mentally ill woman and a newborn. Yeah, I can see why you might be upset." Karma says, "Tell your parents your feelings are valid, and if this happens again, you refuse to be parentified. Parentification is a form of abuse, and they should be ashamed of themselves for putting you in that situation in the first place. If it does happen again, talk to someone at your school like a teacher or a guidance counsellor, and see if another relative will take you in if the worst happens. Not the arsehole." And one more from Judge Judd, "Am I the arsehole?" who says, "Not the arsehole. It sounds like you had a legitimate, unexpected and uncontrollable reaction to this news. You are not wrong to feel that way. It is hard to blame Beth either for suffering postpartum depression then or for being angry now. Though she saw fit to go back to this boyfriend makes her judgment questionable, and a lack of empathy for your situation is at least arsehole-ish. There are, however, a couple of clear arseholes here. First and most, the boyfriend and father. Anybody who reacts to the mother of their child suffering by kicking them both out is an arsehole. Full stop. He has zero right to criticize anybody here. Then your parents. They push primary care of an infant on a 15-year-old for a year. That is not a burden you can or should be expected to shoulder. They failed your sister and they failed you. Now, what do you guys make of this story? What are your thoughts on all of today's stories? I'd love to know your thoughts and verdicts on all of today's stories if you choose to share them. A huge thank you for spending 20 to 30 minutes with me today and getting involved with the channel. It means the absolute world. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love. I got food up in the fridge. Y'all keep looking for that new wave. I think I like it how it is.